Okay, this is the last one in the Pleistocene era, and this one is a sample, another one from Morocco. Now I've already matched 0.95% with the origins of modern Morocco sample. This one is Moroccan manufacturer, TAF010 sample. This comes from a man who lived between 15,080 and 14,130 years ago, and whose remains were unearthed at Grotte des Pigeons near Taforalt in eastern Morocco, same place as the last one. DNA samples from his right petrous skull bone provide evidence of his connection to the Iberomaurusian culture, whose origin is debated, as well as to modern people of Morocco. They may have descended either directly from the manufacturers of the preceding Middle Stone Age technologies, in brackets, Arterian or local West African bladelet technologies, or from an exogenous population with ties to the upper Paleolithic techno-complexes of the Near East or Southern Europe. Thus, they provide a critical reference point to understand the deep genetic history of North Africa and the broader Middle East. They have a genetic affinity with early Holocene Near Easterners, best represented by Levantine Natufians, suggesting a pre-agricultural connection between Africa and the Near East. There was no evidence for gene flow from Paleolithic Europeans into late Pleistocene North Africans. All of the Taforalt individuals, including this one, derive 1/3 of their ancestry from sub-Saharan Africans, best approximated by a mixture of genetic components preserved in present-day West and East Africans. The person who left us this, the TAF010 DNA sample, belonged to the mitochondrial haplogroup U6A7B and the Y haplogroup E1B1B1E1. So that male haplogroup's come up a few times with samples I've matched with, that they're matching. But the U, going back to an ancient grandmother, that does match in with my line going back overs to a common ancestor. So, TAF010 belonged to the Iberomaurusian culture, which archaeologists recognise for its highly advanced localised manufacturing of microlithic stone tools and shell beads. That's why they're calling them a manufacturer. The artisanal production of TAF010's culture. While not a factory manufacturer, communities like TAF010's were deeply involved in complex material production. Lithic technology. They crafted geometric microliths, small flint tools, utilised for advanced hunting, weaponry and processing animal hides. They produced intricate personal ornaments, notably paste marine shell beads, which suggest early trade networks and social structures. This is one of the most historically significant ancient human DNA samples ever recovered. It represents a late Pleistocene human male who lived approximately 15,000 years ago in modern-day Morocco. His genome, sequenced from a well-preserved right petrous bone, the inner ear skull bone, provided scientists with the oldest human nuclear DNA ever recovered from Africa. Wow. The discovery completely rewrote the understanding of ancient migrations, proving that North Africa was a bustling prehistoric crossroads long before agriculture began. The extraction of TAF010's DNA was a major breakthrough, published by the Max Planck Institute and an international team of researchers. His Y DNA is paternal haplogroup E-M78, specifically in brackets E1B. We've seen that before, not other matches on the father line. This lineage is foundational to North and East Africa and is highly prevalent in modern Afro-Asiatic speaking populations. The maternal haplogroup U6A7B. This is an ancient West Eurasian derived maternal line that back migrated into North Africa during the Paleolithic era. Lack of European admixture. Before TAF010 was sequenced, archaeologists assumed his culture had crossed over from Europe. The genetic data proved he had 0% Paleolithic European ancestry. His genome is complex and modelled as a genetic bridge between continents. His DNA is split into two primary components. Near Eastern component, 61.5%. He shares a deep genetic affinity with the early Holocene Natufian hunter-gatherers of the Levant, modern-day Israel, Jordan, Syria. This indicates a massive pre-agricultural connection between Africa and the Near East. And again, the other ones are going with the Levant also. Sub-Saharan African component, 36.5%. The remainder of his ancestry is rooted in Africa, showing ties to genetic lineages found in both modern West Africans and East Africans. So, he was discovered in the Taforalt Cave, located in the Burkian province of northeastern Morocco. It's the same cave my other guy, Origins of Modern Morocco, I feel, was found. It's the same area at least. The oldest cemetery. The cave is recognised as the oldest known cemetery in North Africa, and possibly in brackets the world, containing dozens of Iberomaurusian skeletons. Burial rituals. TAF010 and his peers were buried deliberately. Many skeletons at the site were found positioned intentionally, adorned with perforated marine shell beads, ochre, and animal horns such as Barbary sheep, indicating complex spiritual beliefs and mourning practices. Way of life. The Iberomaurusian culture as a member of this, and then it's got in brackets Aterian culture. Aterian. He lived a sophisticated hunter-gatherer's lifestyle at the end of the last ice age. Despite living in a cave, a massive portion of his community's diet came from wild plants. They selectively harvested and cooked starchy plants like acorn, pine nuts and pulses, alongside hunting Barbary sheep and collecting land snails. They were masters of microlithic technology, manufacturing tiny, razor-sharp flint blades that were embedded into wooden shafts to make highly efficient spears and arrows. The Taforalt population shows some of the earliest evidence of trepanation, in brackets prehistoric, cranial surgery, and intentional tooth avulsion, removal of the upper central incisors, likely done as a cultural rite of passage. So the burial of TAF010 alongside the other individuals in the Taforalt Cave, the Grotte des Pigeon cemetery, provided archaeologists with clear evidence of complex international funeral rituals. He was not simply left in a cave. His community buried him with specific grave goods, symbolic ornaments, and ritual items. So he wasn't the only one in the cave either. Ritual and medicinal offerings. Ephedra plant remains. One of the most groundbreaking discoveries in his burial pit was the charred remains of ephedra, in brackets sea grape, seed cones. Ephedra contains ephedrine, a powerful central nervous system stimulant and decongestant. Archaeologists believe the plant was deliberately processed, burned or consumed during the funerary rite, representing the earliest evidence of medicinal plant use in a burial context. The grave was arranged with animal remains, specifically the horns and bones of Barbary sheep. These were placed deliberately around the body, likely as symbolic items of remnants of a funerary feast. Personal ornaments and art. Perforated marine shell beads we've talked about before, strung beads made from small sea snail shells were discovered with the remains. These shells were intentionally pierced so they could be worn as necklaces or bracelets, or sewn directly onto burial garments. Red ochre. The skeleton and nearby artifacts showed traces of red ochre. This natural earth pigment was routinely sprayed or rubbed over the deceased's body and grave goods during Iberomaurusian rituals to symbolize life, blood, or safe passage. The stone and bone toolkits, microlithic flint arrowheads, small, highly sophisticated geometric flint bladelets and arrowheads were found in his immediate burial context. Smoothly polished animal bone points and scrapers were left with him, representing the core everyday survival gear of an Iberomaurusian hunter-gatherer. Associated findings. Though not a physical object placed in the grave, analysis of TAF010's skull revealed cultural modifications shared by his community. Intentional tooth removal. That's come up on one of the other ones also. So like 90% of adults found at Taforalt, TAF010 had his upper central incisor teeth intentionally knocked out. It's called tooth avulsion. During youth, this painful ritual was a cultural rite of passage into adulthood or a marker of tribal identity. Can you imagine that? Someone bashing your front teeth out? What was all that about? So my man, he wasn't buried on his own. He was discovered as part of a highly organised communal cemetery inside the Taforalt Cave. Scientists found him buried in a collective grave alongside multiple individuals, surrounded by dozens of other graves from his community. The collective burial pit was excavated from an archaeological layer containing a dense cluster of human remains. The Sector 10 cemetery, he was found in a specific funerary area of the cave where bodies were buried tightly together. His immediate burial pit contained the bones of several other individuals, including adults and children. Prehistoric people often reused these specific pits over time, carefully placing newly deceased family or tribal members alongside their ancestors. Looking at the cave as a whole, TAF010 was part of a large, long-lasting population. Over 40 individuals. Wow. Excavations at Taforalt have uncovered the skeletal remains of at least 35 to 40 distinct prehistoric individuals, ranging from newborns to elderly adults. The site represents the earliest known organised cemetery in North Africa. It proves that TAF010's people were not nomadic loners. They returned to this specific cave for generations to bury their dead. And it's titled there, The Oldest Cemetery. Close genetic relatives, the DNA of TAF010 was sequenced alongside several other individuals from the cave, such as TAF009 and TAF010. The genetic testing proved they were all part of the same closely knit, continuous Iberomaurusian population. They shared a highly unique genetic profile, meaning TAF010 lived, hunted, and was buried with his direct biological family. So, genetic distant cousins. We share a common maternal ancestor via macro haplogroup N in Southwest Asia, roughly 60,000 years ago. Wow. But we went down different historical lines. J1C3 has a completely different historical timeline and geographical distribution compared to TAF010's hunter-gatherer lineage. So the divergent and life paths, U6A7B versus J1C3, the genetic split occurred during the Paleolithic era, sending the two lines on completely different evolutionary journeys across continents. TAF010's lineage, the Ice Age back migrators, after splitting into haplogroup U, this maternal ancestor's developed the U6 branch in Western Asia around 35 years ago. Instead of moving into Europe, they executed a massive back migration into North Africa. By 12,699 BC, TAF010 was born in Morocco, fully integrated into the indigenous Iberomaurusian hunter-gatherer culture. The J1C3 lineage, the European farming expansion. Meanwhile, the branch that became Haplogroup J stayed behind in the Near East. The specific mutation for J1C formed around 10,000 years ago. The downstream mutation for J1C3 emerged around 5,250 BC. This means the founding mother of J1C3 was born roughly 7,500 years after TAF010 had already died. Wow. While TAF010's maternal line remained tied to the Maghreb, J1C3 became heavily linked with the Neolithic agricultural revolution. As early farmers left the Near East and Anatolia, women carrying J1C3 migrated deep into Europe. Over millennia, J1C3 expanded significantly into Western and Northern Europe. Today, it is highly prevalent in the British Isles, Scandinavia, and Germany. Wow. But we shared that going way back. It's still showing up and connecting us today. I just find it bloody amazing. So that was the last one from that era in time. The next one is the Mesolithic 1 period. And in the Mesolithic 1 era, I connect with this guy.